Today's date is December 7, 2025. We're having an Israeli-Palestinian Confederation simulation with Eli Safran. We are discussing the Israeli-Palestinian Confederation proposal for a federal government in Israel-Palestine. I would like to remind everyone that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict was created by humans. It was not a natural disaster event. It wasn't an earthquake or a windstorm or a flood. It was created by humans who have exposed the people who reside in Israel and Palestine to so much violence for the last over 100 years, and they are incapable of resolving that violence. And we are proposing a federal government to do just like that. We are proposing a constitution. The constitution is available at ipconfederation.org. It is a live document that is being updated and has been for over 20 years. It's a very interesting read. We are proposing an independent federal government for the people of Israel and Palestine, traditional democracy with a liberal concept of a parliament with 300 parliament members, a president and vice president, and a judicial system, all equal to the Palestinian and the Israeli people, based on equality and a constitution. You can reach me at josephavisar@gmail.com. Today's guest is Eli Safran. Eli Safran is an Israeli community leader and a peace activist from Kibbutz Sasa in the Upper Galilee. He works as a local tour guide and is active in organizing cross-community and Jewish-Palestinian meetings in the north. Safran is involved with the Sasa Kibbutz Museum and has served as a local contact and organizer for cultural and civic events in the area. Over the years, Eli Safran participated in regional peace initiatives and public forums addressing coexistence and Jewish-Arab relations. In the last 8 years, Safran has been the chairman of the Israeli Peace Organizations Forum, an NGO advocating for the peace process from a center-left perspective. Our next guest on December 21 will be Professor Ron Newald. On January 11, we will have Roa Kitani. She is a Palestinian lawyer from Ramallah. On February 22nd, we will have Elijah Kallenberg and Jad Hashem, the first who are with the first and only uniting Arab and Jewish groups in colleges in the United States, as far as we know. On February 8th, we will have Nava Kadman. She's an Israeli researcher and human rights activist conducting research on Palestinian human rights violation. And on March 8th, we will have a special Nakba session with Omar al-Gubari, a Palestinian lecturer, group facilitator, and a political educator for Palestinian history. He will speak about the Nakba. We are proposing a federal government for the people of Israel and Palestine that gives a veto power to the Palestinian and Israeli government if it violates if the legislation we pass, or they pass, violates the sovereignty of either the Israeli or the Palestinian government. We call that threading the needle. What does that mean? It means that we believe the federal government could pass legislation that neither side will be able to or would want to veto because it would benefit the people, their own people. We are asking you to ask questions. This is a simulation. This is not a lecture. Eli was not invited to give a lecture. He was invited to give his opinion. I don't even know if he supports the concept or not, but we are presenting this simulation to him to get his opinion regarding our proposal. If you have questions, please ask questions. Questions help clarify the issues. You can also write your comments on the chat, and Nasir, who I hope is here, will translate those comments into questions. This is a short video that explains the concept of an Israeli-Palestinian Confederation.
The conflict between Israelis and Palestinians has endured for generations, and instead of time healing the wounds, it's only caused the anger to fester and the violence to grow. But what if there was a way to alleviate the tension? Something that may not outright solve every problem, but at least create a forum that encourages a peaceful compromise. Welcome to the Israeli-Palestinian Confederation, a common third government between the Israeli and Palestinian citizens, specifically designed to foster peace, tolerance, and economic prosperity between the two nations. Here's how it works. First off, both Israel and Palestine will keep their respective governments. Israel's Knesset and the Palestinian National Authority will remain unchanged. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation, IPC, will be a third entity acting as a unifying agent between the two. The IPC will comprise 300 parliament members elected from 300 districts in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. Above them will preside a president and vice president, one Israeli and one Palestinian. In order for the IPC to pass a law, it will require a 55% majority from its Israeli representatives, as well as a 55% majority from its Palestinian representatives, thereby preventing either side from monopolizing the legislature. Of course, the IPC won't undermine the political power of either the Israeli or the Palestinian government. At any time, Israel or Palestine may veto a law passed by the IPC. If neither side vetoes, the law is passed. And the two nations are another step closer to resolution. Please help us make this a reality. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation. We might speak different languages, but we all mean the same thing.
So before we start the simulation, let's conduct a pre-simulation survey. Do you support a federal government for Israel-Palestine? If you support it, please vote yes. If you oppose it, please vote no. And we will compare this vote to a subsequent vote that will be taken at the end of the simulation. So please vote yes or no. Yes if you support, no if you do not support. Okay. 10 more seconds to vote, please. Yes if you support, no if you do not support. Go ahead and publish the vote. We have 14 out of 16, 88% voted yes, and 2 out of 16 voted no. Thank you. We will compare that to at the end of the simulation. Confederation and federal governments exist worldwide to address specific conflicts. Some governments refer to themselves as federal governments, while others use the term confederation. Definitions are not fixed and evolve with changing realities. In the context of Israel-Palestine, the IPC defines confederation and federation as a shared government for the people of Israel and Palestine, guided by democratic principles, outlined in the IPC Constitution, which can be found at ipconfederation.org. That's the Constitution I showed you at the beginning. So we are conducting a simulation. And in order to conduct the simulation, we have to make assumptions. The first assumption is that we have been able to obtain $100 million, and we were able to spend that on a year-long campaign promoting the elections, telling the people of Palestine and Israel about the possibility of voting and running for parliament and president, and making the people of Israel and Palestine aware that there is a platform on which they can vote using their phones, using their computers, friends' phones and friends' computers. So we are assuming that that has been achieved and has been conducted. That's part of the simulation. We are also assuming that we were able to give 15.5 million people, excluding children, in the area of the West Bank, Gaza, and Israel, the right to vote. We are also assuming that the vote has been concluded. We are, from now on in this simulation, acting as if the vote has been conducted and 5 million people have voted, and 3 million Palestinians have voted, and 2 million Israelis have voted. We are assuming that the president received 2 million votes and the vice president received 1.5 million votes. For the purpose of the simulation, we are assuming that me, Joseph, was elected as president, so that it is clear I'm not even qualified to be the president because I am not a resident of Israel or Palestine. But in order to conduct this simulation from this point on, I will be acting as if I was elected by 2 million people. We will also assume that 300 parliament members were elected. I will ask you, the audience, to act as parliament members. Each parliament members represent one district, and each district has 51,666,000 people. Before I turn to Eli and ask his comments or opinions on these assumptions, let me ask the audience, do you have any questions regarding these assumptions? The audience. And then I'll go to Eli. I see Eli has Moshe with him, which is, I know Moshe as well. I'll give both of you a chance to make your comments. Evelyn, go ahead and ask your question.
How about the composition of the parliament? There's going to be 300 people. So how are you going to guarantee that there's going to be equality between Israelis, Jews, and Palestinians?
We're not guaranteeing that there will be 150 and 150. The Palestinians and Israelis could vote for each other. So it's not going to be a rigged election. It's going to be an election in which parliament members will be elected from a district. Now, once the parliament is elected, in order for the parliament to pass legislation, it would require 55% of the Palestinian parliament members and 55% of the Israeli parliament members to agree on the same legislation. So to answer your concern, let's assume that we have more Palestinians or more Israelis in the parliament. It really wouldn't make a difference because we need to have 55% of the Palestinian, whatever number they are, and 55% of the Israeli, whatever numbers they are. Any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions before I go to Eli and Moshe?
I don't understand the basis of 55%. Generally, in a democracy, 51 or even 50.1% is a majority. I don't understand. Can you explain why 55%?
We wanted to make sure that each legislation will be passed by greater than a majority in order to validate the legitimacy of the election, the legislation. So we didn't want a legislation to pass by a hairline. We wanted it to pass by more than a hairline. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have.
Okay, Baruch, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I'm just wondering who is going to give you $100 million? Mr. Trump won't. Mr. Trump won't. The European Parliament, of which I'm in pretty good contact with a number of leaders, they won't. Who's going to give you $100 million?
It's a very interesting question. Israel and the Palestinians are spending billions and billions of dollars on weapons and have been unaliving and killing people for the last 77 years. And no one is questioning the amount of money that is being spent. We are proposing $100 million, which is a drop in the bucket of what is being spent. And the question of who is going to give $100 million comes into fruition. The answer is the $100 million will come from the public, the general public around the world. Once the idea of a federal government becomes, once the public is aware of that, getting $100 million is not a difficult issue. The difficult part is having people around the world and in Israel, Palestine aware of this. But for the purpose of this simulation, we are assuming that we were able to obtain the $100 million.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Any other questions?
I have a question about the general assumptions, because what you said in the beginning was the IDC will provide a platform for Israelis and Palestinians to discuss and negotiate or make decisions together, et cetera, et cetera. One assumption
We didn't
is
say that. I didn't say that.
So please restate that. What does it provide? A platform for what?
The platform for people of Israel and Palestine to vote for their parliament members. And once they will be able to vote using their computers, using their phones, using their friends' computers and friends' phones. Once the parliament is elected, the 300 parliament members will have legitimacy, and they will be able to pass legislation requiring 55% of the Israeli and 55% of the Palestinian parliament members to vote on the legislation based on the Constitution.
Thank you for the clarification, but that makes another assumption here, and that is that Israelis and Palestinians have never negotiated a peace settlement that speaks about the two-state solution. It's already been discussed by two negotiating teams in the framework of the Geneva Initiative Final Status Agreement in 2003, and it's just been waiting for two brave leaders to come up and say, okay, let's put this into action. And it could take a matter of months to close the gap between 2003, the reality of 2003, and the reality of 2025. But this has already been decided on by very high-level negotiators. These were not school kids or anybody. We're talking about people who were chiefs of staff of the IDF and of the Palestinian Authority and academics and all the others. So to have this simulation, we have to assume that never happened.
No, we don't have to assume that never happened. You don't see that on the assumptions. We are assuming that we are able to obtain the funding to have an election. We are assuming that 5 million people have voted, that the president received 2 million votes and 300 parliament members have been elected. We are not assuming, or we are not denying anything about history, and our Constitution does not require the Israeli or the Palestinian governments to agree on anything or not agree on anything. We, in fact, under the Constitution, are accepting any agreement that the Israeli and the Palestinian governments agreed upon. Any other questions regarding the assumptions
let's do the
that are in
simulation
front of
and
you?
leave the questions to the end. All our questions that you and I and probably Ellie have, let's leave them to the end.
If you have questions regarding the assumptions that are in front of you, I would appreciate that. If you want to challenge the idea of the IPC, I suggest you wait until the end because a lot of your questions will be answered.
That's what I just said.
Okay, let's go to Eli. Eli, do you have any questions or comments regarding the assumptions?
Yes, first of all, shalom lekulam. Hello to everyone here. First of all, I want to tell you that I live in Kibbutz Sasa, as Joseph wrote, and Kibbutz Sasa is, let's say, 1 kilometer from the Israeli-Lebanon border. And we are
We were evacuated.
We have evacuated for more than 1 year from our houses and come back only a few months ago. And the activity, the military activity in the northern border has not stopped. It's still even this day. We hear the noise and all the problem. I must tell you that I appreciate that all for Joseph and all of you that arranged this plan for confederation, but between Israel and Palestine. But I'm not support this, and I tell you why.
Eli, could you focus on the assumptions in front of you rather? The general discussion will take place at the end. You'll have a Q&A, but just focus on the assumptions that are in front of you.
Yes, I don't want to do this because it's not, I don't speak about how much members will be voted in the Israeli side and how much in the Palestinian side. I'm not support the basic idea of this, not in the fact that I won't not any discussion about the dividing between the Israeli and Palestine, how the representation will be, how much people will vote for the president. I don't want to come inside this because my idea is in the basic. I want to look in the basic idea of the confederation.
Eli, could you be specific regarding...
Joseph, let me explain to him in 2
sentences.
No,
I am in charge of this simulation, Baruch, and I am asking, we have to respect the process that we have put forward. Eli, do you have any comments regarding the assumptions that are being you don't have to have comments, but can you focus on the assumptions that are in front of you?
My problem is not in this in the my problem is not what you wrote in here. I don't want to have any comment about this.
All right, thank you. Okay,
Joseph, I have one other question.
Yes.
It interests me for the 22 people here. I don't know. Maybe you don't want to. You don't want to tell me. But how many people live either in Israel or Palestine?
I don't know, and that's not part of the assumptions.
Okay.
Please do not derail the conversation from the assumption. Yes,
curiosity.
You are derailing the conversation. We are presenting point by point, and we are asking for you to respect the process rather than derail the conversation. Okay?
No, I respect it.
No, you do not. You ask questions not related to what is being presented to you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. All right. So now I'm asking the audience to participate and act as either to choose whether you are Israeli or Palestinian parliament members in this simulation. Please make your choice. You can be either Israeli or Palestinian parliament members. if you are a Palestinian, you need to also decide what area of Israel-Palestine you represent, whether you represent majority Palestinian, majority Israeli, whether your district is a mixed district, because you could be an Israeli elected by Palestinians, or you could be Palestinians elected by Israelis. So 10 more seconds to make your choice. And Moshe and Eli, and you can also make your choice or decline to make a choice. All right. Publish the vote. We have 10 Palestinian parliament members, and we have 6 Israeli. And please remain intellectually honest throughout the simulation. Keep your nationality the same, and keep in mind what district you represent, and you are representing a district. You're not representing the entire nation of Israel and Palestine. I am in this simulation the president of the whole area. From this point on, we are acting as if this is a simulation, as if this is a reality. So I am now putting myself in the shoes of the president. You are putting yourself in the shoes of parliament members. Okay? Now, we also need someone to act as Prime Minister of Israel. Jeff has agreed to be Prime Minister of Israel, correct, Jeff? Jeff Warner.
Well, I hadn't agreed, but I will do it.
Okay.
But I'm gonna, in part of the discussion, I'm gonna act as a parliament member also to make
No, you
it.
cannot. No, you cannot. If you're a Prime Minister of Israel, you are not. You're in a different government. What do you want to be?
I want to take part in the discussion.
Okay, are you a Prime Minister or are you a parliament member? You can take part of what?
Parliament member.
Parliament member. Okay. Do we have a volunteer to act as Prime Minister of Israel?
I'll be willing to do it. I don't appear also that there are 2 of us in this one.
That's fine. Moshe, you are the Prime Minister of Israel.
Better than the current.
And is Nasir here?
Yes, I'm here, Joseph.
Can you be the president of Palestine?
Sure.
Okay, terrific. So now we have a president of the whole area. We have parliament members, and we have a prime minister of Israel and a Palestinian president. All right. The first order of business is to ratify the Constitution. So, Nasir, you cannot vote at all as a parliament member, and so is you, Moshe. You cannot vote because you're a separate government. Libby, would you be so kind as to read the Constitution?
Okay, here's the Constitution. Palestinians and Israelis are entitled to equal rights under the law and guaranteed human rights and freedom. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation does not intend to supersede or supplant the Palestinian or Israeli governments, nor to abrogate or undermine any agreements between those governments. We recognize the need to work with the Israeli and Palestinian governments. Our purpose is to resolve conflicts and to expand the relationships between Palestinians and Israelis in a fair and equitable manner. We believe in equal rights under the law, guaranteed human rights, and freedom for all. We voluntarily give the legislatures and the governments of Israel and Palestine veto power over legislation we pass relating to the domain of control of those governments. We believe in the separation of power between the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. We believe in the creation of a permanent secular government for all the people residing in Israel and Palestine. We believe in having a separate judicial branch relating to IPC legislation with Israeli and Palestinian judges, with a system to avoid biased decisions based on nationality.
Thank you, Libby. So this is a short version of the long constitution that I showed you at the beginning. The main point is that we do not intend to supersede or supplant the Palestinian or Israeli governments or to abrogate any agreements between them. So what Moshe has mentioned at the beginning, we accepting any agreements between the Israeli or the Palestinian governments, whether it is for two-state or one-state or any other agreements between the governments of Israel and Palestine. We also agree to give the separate governments a veto power on legislation that violates their sovereignty. All right. The parliament members only have to ratify the Constitution. Does anyone have any questions before I go to Eli? Does anyone have any questions regarding the Constitution?
I don't understand what would happen if
Do you have
the...
any questions regarding the Constitution?
Yeah.
What is your question?
The question is, what happens if the Confederation Parliament decides something and the Israeli-Palestinian government disagree?
If they veto the legislation that violates their legislation, their sovereignty, then the legislation is nullified. It's not.
Why? Okay, all right.
That's part of our Constitution.
Yeah, I don't see why. I just can't understand why either government would listen to things that this government, our government now, has proposed.
Because we were elected by 5 million people, and they will lose legitimacy if they ignore 5 million people.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Any other questions? Let's go to Eli. Eli, do you have any questions or comment regarding the Constitution?
My problem is not in the details. I tell you in the beginning, I'm telling you, of course, I can have a comment, but I'm not support the whole idea of a confederation or federation because I don't believe it's possible to do it in the situation.
But that's not what you're being asked to do right now. We're asking you, can you comment, or do you have any question regarding the Constitution that is in front of you?
No.
All right. Okay, having no other questions, let's have the Palestinian. Now, in order to be part of the parliament, you must ratify the Constitution. Otherwise, you're expelled from the parliament. Palestinian parliament members, please vote to ratify the Constitution. Palestinian parliament members. Okay. All of the Palestinian parliament members, one person voted no. So that person, can you please identify yourself, who you are? The person who voted no as a Palestinian parliament member. Can you please identify who you are? Okay, that person is not identifying himself. Whether or not he or she, that person is expelled. He's not part of the parliament. He cannot vote on further legislation. Let's go to the Israeli parliament members. Please vote to ratify the Constitution. Israeli parliament members, please vote to ratify the Constitution. 5 more seconds to ratify the Constitution by the Israeli parliament member. Publish the vote. One person voted no. Can you please identify who you are? The Israeli parliament members, please identify who you are. That person is not identifying who he or she is. Nevertheless, that person is expelled from the parliament. The person who received the second number of votes from his or her district will be elected as parliament member as long as he accepts the Constitution. Let's move on. So, congratulations. We passed a constitution. We elected the government. We elected a democratic government in the entire area of Israel-Palestine. There has never been a single democratic government in the area of Israel-Palestine in the history of humanity. What we have just done undermines the existing government's use of fear and hate to justify their actions. It removes the collective stigma against Israelis and Palestinians and provide huge political capital to the president, me, and to the parliament, the people that are elected, the 300 parliament members, and it compels the government and other organizations to contribute to our success, both financially, politically, and economically. And it gives us a new self-image that we are capable of passing legislation, passing a constitution, ratifying the constitution, separation between government and religion for the entire area of Israel and Palestine, which has never been done before in the history of humanity. And it proves that Israelis and Palestinians are not a monolithic societies, that some Palestinians and some Israelis are capable of thinking the same way to give peace to their people, regardless of their nationality. The first order of business is, after we pass the legislation, the Constitution, is granting a veto power to the separate governments. Libby, could you please read this legislation?
Excuse me, as the Prime Minister of Israel, can we go back to the previous slide? Because the first item is not correct. If my Israeli government decides that they want to use fear and hate to justify their actions, so be it. They will. It shouldn't happen. I agree, and no one should ever do that in any situation, either in a confederation or not. Hate should not be, or fear should not be a reason for doing anything.
Mr. Prime Minister, yes, you're interfering with our Parliament session.
You asked me to talk about.
You're only given a veto power. You're only given a veto power. This is not.
He didn't mean yours. He meant the previous one.
This is not a session for you to publicize or to have your government's point of view.
No,
you're only given a veto power.
I'm not talking
You're only given a veto power. This is our parliamentary session here.
I understand. Can I explain?
Okay.
Told me to speak up.
No. You can explain in a different forum to your own people, to your own government. Yeah, but this is a separate legislative session for our. No, you cannot overtake our legislative session.
So
this is the. Do not argue with me. Do not argue with me. Do not argue with me. I am the president. I am the president.
You're not part of the parliament.
I am the president of.
Prime Minister of Israel.
You're going to be muted if you argue with me.
I'm not arguing.
This is a separate session. No, sorry. This is a separate session for our parliament. This is a simulation of our parliament. You are not being given a chance. Please remain until you are called to speak. This is our parliament. We are a separate parliament.
I'm not disputing it. I'm trying to
we're done. We're done.
Joseph, can I interrupt here and just say, I feel like what is happening is not going to be beneficial to moving forward. And I think we should clarify the question that is on the table here. I don't think he's trying to speak as the head of his government. He's just a citizen asking for clarification about
it doesn't matter. We are conducting a simulation. We are not going back and forth pretending to be something else. We are now pretending to have a parliament. Okay, so you can go back and say, well, I'm not president, I'm not prime minister, I'm not this, I'm not. This is not conducive to conducting a simulation. We are in the simulation mode from now on until we have Q&A. Let's go to the next order. Please read the legislation.
Granting a veto power to the separate governments. The Confederation is the government of the entire population of Israel and Palestine from the river to the sea. We recognize the Palestinian and Israeli governments and are seeking their cooperation to implement our vision for peace by giving them a veto. We will do our utmost to satisfy the essential needs of each government. We are pleading with the Palestinian and Israeli public to understand that while we would like to pass the best legislation possible to improve their lives, under these constraints, a perfect legislation is not possible. We hereby bestow a veto power relating to legislation affecting sovereignty to the following: the government of Israel on issues in which it is indispensable, the Palestinian government on issues in which it is indispensable. In the event of changes in the entirety of the Israeli or Palestinian governments, this legislation may be amended or repealed subject to the IPC Constitution. The Parliament will decide on indispensability. Vetoes may be bestowed individually or collectively.
So I would like to emphasize this, that the Parliament that has been elected will decide whether the Israeli or the Palestinian governments are indispensable regarding specific legislation, whether to give one government a veto power, two governments a veto power, whether it's the Israeli or the Palestinian government. That's under our Constitution. And let me give you examples of indispensable. So if we pass legislation regarding the use of land, police force, or removal of the wall, one of these governments or both of them may be indispensable. However, if we pass legislation relating to our budget or ratifying the Constitution or appointing IPC ministers or judges, they are dispensable and they will not get a veto power. The reason we give them a veto power is that it provides a safety net to both sides, to the public and to the government of Palestine and Israel. It increases the likelihood of Israelis and Palestinians' participation in the election and in the parliament. It decreases the Israeli and Palestinian government's opposition to the federal government, and it removes any claims that we are a subversive organization intending to subvert the Israeli or Palestinian government, and it gives legal protection to our candidates and compels the IPC to thread the needle, as we discussed it, to pass legislation that will be acceptable to both sides and creates a platform for negotiation with a deadline. Does anyone, before I go to Eli, does anyone have any questions regarding this legislation we are about to pass?
הבעיה עם הווטו. יש לך? נגיד.
באתי לא להתעסק עם הפרטים פה.
Okay, does anyone have any questions regarding the veto power we are about to pass? Okay, Eli, do you have any questions regarding this legislation to give the Israeli and the Palestinian government a veto power?
No.
You have no question. All right. Let's have the Palestinian parliament members please vote on this legislation. Palestinian parliament members, if you agree to give legislation as we agreed in this legislation, if you agree to give them a veto power when they are indispensable, then vote yes. If you do not agree, vote no. Palestinian parliament members. All right? Publish the vote. 91% of the Palestinian parliament members voted to give a veto power to the separate governments. Let's go to the Israeli parliament members. We need 55% of the Israeli parliament members in order to pass this legislation? If you agree to give them a veto power, vote yes. If you do not agree to give them a veto power, vote no. Okay, 5 more seconds to vote. Publish the vote. 80% of the Israeli parliament members voted in favor of this legislation. So we have agreed. This legislation agreed that we will decide who to give a veto power to, under what circumstances, and whether to give it to both governments or one government. All right. Let's go to the first legislation that is constructing a Nakba museum in Ramallah. Libby, could you please read this legislation?
Okay, the background. The Nakba refers to the expulsion of approximately 750,000 Palestinians from their homeland and the destruction of about 550 Palestinian villages by Zionist forces in 1948, followed by their replacement with the newly established State of Israel. So here's the legislation. The IPC is allocating $50 million to purchase land in Ramallah and to construct the Nakba Museum. 1. State-of-the-art photographic and video documentation of every village and its transformation. And 2. Names of all Palestinian refugees with photographs when possible. 3. Records of family journeys from the time of expulsion to the present with regular updates. 4. A center where Palestinian refugees worldwide can contribute documents, stories, and materials. And 5. A dedicated team to enhance, expand, and update documentation efforts continuously. Continuing, 6. Secure storage and preservation of historical documents, maps, letters, artifacts, and original materials. And 7. A detailed, interactive map showing destroyed or depopulated villages with historical data and current status. And 8. A recording space for refugees and their descendants to document personal testimonies. And this is in accordance with Article 2, Section 21 of the IPC Constitution. The Palestinian government is given a veto power.
Does anyone have any questions regarding this legislation? Evelyn, go ahead.
My only one is, why is this different from the Arafat Museum, which covers the Nakba totally in Ramallah?
Baruch.
Yeah.
Can I go, please? Joseph called on me.
Sorry.
Thank you. I wanted to know, is this the first piece of legislation that will be discussed in the IPC legislature?
We are not proposing any policies once this government is created. We are conducting simulation and demonstrating how legislation could be passed by the parliament and that neither side will be able to veto. I'm not saying that this is how the federal government, once it is created, this is the first legislation that it may choose to pass. We have passed many samples of legislation. This has just happened to be today what we decided to pass. All right. Any other before I go to Moshe and Eli? Let's go to the audience. To the parliament member? I'm sorry, parliament members. Do you have any questions regarding this legislation?
I asked my question.
Baruch?
Why is this different? Why is this different from the Arafat Museum, which covers the Nakba totally?
I don't know one.
Oh, it's there. I've been twice, 3 times to it.
I'm not saying you haven't been there. I'm not saying they don't have it.
There is already. It's called
Okay,
the Arafat
we
Museum.
want to create our own Nakba museum.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Moshe, I don't know if it's Moshe or Ali, whoever, one of you can ask your question.
As a person who's not only in favor of the proposal of constructing a Nakba museum in Ramallah, but I'm also in favor of constructing a Nakba museum in Tel Aviv or in Jerusalem, and an Israeli independence museum, let's say in Ramallah. But I cannot agree with the fact that it's stated here that the destruction of about 550.
Well, okay.
I'm trying to understand
that's not a question. You will be given veto power. You will be given a veto power once the parliament decides.
Moshe, look at your phone. Moshe, look at your phone.
Once the parliament decides, you will be given a veto power and an opportunity to explain your position.
But I'd like to know how I can support it, because I do, but there's a problem in the sentence that makes it impossible.
Right. We have a process, Mr. Prime Minister.
Yes.
Okay. We have a process. We go through a process. With our process is first the parliament vote, and then once it votes, we go to the Prime Minister and to the President of Palestine. Unfortunately, in this case, you do not have a veto power because your government is dispensable. So, but I will give you an opportunity to speak after we vote.
Moshe.
All right, let's have the Palestinian parliament members please vote on this.
Moshe, if you have any questions, since you're acting as Prime Minister, can you type them in the chat box and I'll try to relate them, because I see Joseph is trying to follow the guidelines of the simulation. Okay. So if you want to, let's do that. Then maybe because I'm actually very curious about your question, but maybe if you can type it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Palestinian parliament members, please vote. Publish the vote. 100% of the Palestinian parliament members voted yes. Let's go to the Israeli parliament members. Please vote on this legislation. Israeli parliament members, please vote on this legislation.
I don't understand, Joseph, because you said that Israeli. Oh, okay, because Israel is indispensable, but not the Israeli.
Not the parliament, just the IPC, just us.
Okay, I understand.
IPC.
Okay, I was confused. Okay, sorry.
All right, so the Israeli Prime Minister is not given a veto power on this legislation. Does the President of Palestine? Okay, publish the vote. Israeli parliament members voted yes, 60%. That means the parliament passed this legislation. Let's go to the President of Palestine, Mr. Prime Minister, President of Palestine. Are you going to veto this legislation?
No, I'm not going to veto this.
All right. The Israeli Prime Minister does not have a veto over this legislation. However, he has some comments to make. We'll let him make his comments regarding this legislation.
Okay. Okay, thank you. In as much as I very much favor such a museum, and as I said, I would even favor having such a museum built in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, in some place in Israel, so that the Palestinian narrative can be transmitted to the Israeli people, and that will help people understand and actually, once they understand, they can support the idea of living together and the whole thing.
Moshe,
the
problem is, Moshe, I think you're speaking as Moshe. In your role here, you are Netanyahu, and I don't think Netanyahu would ever say anything like that.
No, but I'm going to give it here. I'll give you Netanyahu. Don't look at my face. This is Netanyahu.
Yeah, but I'm saying your role here in this simulation is the Prime Minister of Israel, who today is Benjamin Netanyahu.
Here I go.
Okay, hopefully someday it'll be somebody like you, but as of now, it's not. It's Benjamin Netanyahu.
Right now. You're going to get Netanyahu.
All right. Listen, you guys, this is a dialogue. This is not a debate. And so you've invited him to give his opinion. He says he's doing it as the president of Israel. So let's assume that
I'm doing it in good faith.
In his style.
Okay. So that in as much as I support it, there's a statement in there that I cannot support, So I don't want to veto it, but I don't want it to say that Israel in 1948 had the intention of replacing depopulated villages, because although many were actually replaced with villages, kibbutzim, moshavim, whatever, there were many that were not. So that really, if we could just eliminate that showing. Yeah, it doesn't show it in here in the first page where it was mentioned. This is the second page. It doesn't matter. In other words, in the statement itself, I have a problem with the general idea. I wouldn't. Here you go, where it says followed by the replacement with newly established. That I can't agree with as Prime Minister of Israel, as Netanyahu. I definitely agree that there should be a museum. Why not? Absolutely, we should have both in both areas. That's all.
All right. So I have a question for you. First of all, Mr. Prime Minister, you have no veto power over this legislation. But my question to you is this. Why is Israel have not created this museum for 77 years? And the second question is, if we agree to a change to the language of this legislation, how much money would you be willing to give us in order to construct the museum?
Okay, number one, why hasn't it been constructed in 77 years, as you said? And it's the same reason that I have not been willing to make peace with the Palestinian people for 77 years, because I don't think that the Israeli public is ready for me to make peace with the Palestinian people. It's not a matter if I want to or don't want to, but any leader who makes peace with the other side has to understand that if he doesn't have the support of his people behind his decision, it won't hold water. Doesn't matter which side and which way. So that's the reason why it hasn't been created. We did allow, for a period of time, we allowed the PLO Committee for Interaction with Israeli Society to enter Israel and to give lectures and have discussions with Israelis to try to get.
How much money are you willing to give us?
If you give me what the
if we agree to change,
says,
you mentioned one line that you have disagreement with. So if we change the language, how much money are you willing to give us?
So if you tell me you need $100 million, I'll get you 120.
We need $50 million.
You'll get 55.
Okay. So what line are you concerned with?
First of all, it wasn't Zionist forces. It was the Jewish forces who were fighting together. And if you want to call it Zionist, that's fine. But that was the beginning of a state of Israel. So it was Israeli forces, Free State Israel.
Concerned with?
Right there, where it says the destruction of about 550 Palestinian villages by Zionist forces in 1948, followed by their replacement with the newly established state. That wasn't the case. It just wasn't the case. There were cases where it happened, but that wasn't the intent of the Israeli government of the time, was to replace every single village that was depopulated with one of an Israeli village or an Israeli community. That's
Mr. President of Palestine, since the Prime Minister agreed to give us $55 million, are you willing to make any changes to the background in order to obtain his funding for the Nakba Museum in Ramallah?
I don't understand why he wants to change the language. He wants to water down what history happened.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
So I mean, to me, listen. This, I would rather have no museum than have someone come and water down the history of the atrocities committed against our people. We don't need this. This is not something that's needed.
So you will, if we change this, you will veto it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then we're not changing it. We're going to move on. He doesn't have a veto power anyway, so we just gave up on the money for principle, and I commend you, Mr. President, for taking that position. All right, let's go to the next legislation, and that is the future governance of Gaza.
You don't ask my. Wait a minute. I have a comment about.
Okay, sorry, I apologize. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Not a question. I have a comment, not a question. Look, the Palestinian has the right to create a museum as they wish. Israeli has the right to do the same. But, and the Nakba was disaster. for the Palestinian people and for the personal people, families, children, others. But the story of the Nakba is not stand by itself. It's connected to the whole history of who began the war, who accept to the plan of the United Nations. It's not. That's not the Israeli thinking. Okay, I tell my point of view as in the Israeli. There is a two narrative. There is a Palestinian narrative, and there is the Israeli Zionist narrative. This narrative are not will meet now in this time. So this museum accept to the narrative Palestine full. Okay. Many Israelis like me that think that it was a disaster, it was a Nakba, but we can't accept the whole narrative, Palestinian narrative. That's all. If we have the right to make a museum that we are using the Zionist narrative, it will be not the same story, and the historian will be decided who will be right.
All right, thank you. Let's go to the next legislation is the future of governance over Gaza. Libby, would you be so kind as to read this legislation?
The Gaza region, with a population of 2.1 million people, elected 41 members to parliament. So the legislation, one, the destinies of the Israeli and Palestinian peoples are inseparably linked. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation, IPC, provides a democratic vision for stability, prosperity, and peace. And two, the IPC declares an immediate and unconditional ceasefire. Three, the IPC shall launch a national reconstruction campaign to rebuild homes, roads, hospitals, civic institutions, and critical infrastructure, enabling the prompt return of displaced residents of Gaza to their communities. And four, the IPC proclaims the restoration of law, order, and civil society as a national priority, recognizing that peace is, recognizing that peace is, something keeps jumping.
No, I changed it, I'm sorry.
Recognizing that peace is impossible without justice and social stability. 5, the IPC shall retain authority over the Gaza Strip until a new, freely and fairly elected Palestinian government assumes power in Gaza in accordance with democratic principles. At that point, the IPC shall continue its governance of Gaza in accordance with its constitution. And 6, all legislative, executive, and judicial decisions related to Gaza shall be enacted by the IPC government pursuant to the IPC Constitution, in cooperation with the government of the United States, all Arab states in the region, and the government of Israel and Palestine. And 7, the IPC calls upon the international community, including the governments of Israel and Palestine, to provide a $50 billion grant to fund this urgent reconstruction and reconciliation effort. In accordance with Article 2, Section 21, the IPC Constitution, the Israeli government is given a veto power.
All right, thank you. So
why is the Israeli government getting veto power over Gaza and the Palestinian Authority not?
They're also given a veto power. They are not given a veto power because they are dispensable.
And in Gaza, the Israelis are indispensable. I don't understand that.
Yeah, in my opinion, I am the president. I submitted this legislation in accordance.
So this is basically another means to separate Gaza from the West Bank.
No, it's not. But
this is Netanyahu. This is Netanyahu 2.0, trying to separate Gaza from the West Bank to further.
Mr. President,
this is why this
Mr. President, you are interfering. Mr. President, you are interfering.
No Palestinian parliament member should vote for this.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, you are interfering
sovereignty over our territory.
No, you have no right to interfere with our legislative session. We have a process. Okay? And the process is that we have a vote, and you have when you are given the time, you can make your argument, and I can make my argument. But you cannot interrupt in the middle until we are given an opportunity to discuss this fully. Okay? All right. So, first of all, there are 2.1 million people in Gaza. We have 41 parliament members from Gaza. We are the only legitimate government that is elected in the whole area of Israel and Palestine, including Gaza. And 41 members of parliament members of ours are from Gaza. 41 parliament members are from Gaza. So that's the background. That's the legislation. Does anyone have question, not comments, regarding this legislation before we take a vote and we give an opportunity to the president of Palestine to decide? Evelyn, go ahead. Ask your question.
I think it's the same as Nasir, but I'm not sure. The question is, I don't understand why the Palestinian president isn't able to veto and doesn't have the veto power, and why is he considered dispensable?
Oh, because we can pass this, we can implement. The question for us, you remember we passed legislation about the veto power and the veto power that we passed said very specifically, the parliament will decide on indispensability. Vetoes may be bestowed individually or collectively. I am the president. I submitted this legislation in accordance with the Constitution. And in my opinion, given a veto, the Palestinian parliament, the Palestinian president is dispensable. We can implement this legislation. Whether or not he agreed to it, we can implement this legislation. Now, we have to consider the implication of him vetoing the legislation. If he vetoes the legislation, then the status quo will remain the same, and we are giving a veto power to a president that should not be a veto power because he has no power to.
So do you know who pays the salaries of school teachers?
I'll give you an opportunity.
The salaries of school teachers, the salaries of professors is paid by the Palestinian Authority.
This is not how it works. This is not how it works. Okay? I am given an opportunity. I'll give you another opportunity. I'm not going to interrupt you. So the question is, do we want to give a veto power to a president that is going to keep the status quo the same, a president that has not been elected at all by the Palestinian people? We are the only government that has been elected. A president that is concerned about his own existence, his own personal standing, rather than to give the power to the people who have elected parliament members, who have elected a president. That's the question, and that's the answer that I'm giving you, Evelyn. Let's have the president of Palestine give his argument in favor of giving him a veto power.
So here's the case. To say that the Palestinian government is illegitimate under the conditions that we have not, okay, you want to say that I am not an illegitimate government. We have not had an atmosphere of that can create a legitimacy. We are, in fact, the Palestinian Authority, along with the Palestinian Liberation Organization, has always, since the 1960s, been the sole legitimate representation of the Palestinian people. And the fact that you're saying that we pay the salaries of teachers, of professors, we provide electricity, etc., through Israeli companies that through our services that we pay through them, and the fact that you're giving dispensable whatever to Israel. Do you give Hamas dispenses or veto over elections in Israel, things like that? You don't do that. So I think, Joseph, this just represents the undermining of Palestinian unity and sovereignty. Therefore, the Palestinian Authority does not want to participate in this anymore.
All right. Moshe, do you have a comment?
Eli.
Oh, I'm sorry, Eli.
I have a comment. It's a question. Why you separate the Gaza Strip from the Palestinian Authority who sit in Ramallah and maybe in the future in the East Jerusalem? The people who live in Gaza are Palestinian. The people who live in the West Bank in the Palestinian Authority are Palestinian. They're the same people. We need to separate them to two pieces, and they need a separate government for Gaza and separate government from Ramallah. I don't think it did not serve the people of the Palestinian. It served the point of view of the Israeli, the right wing in Israel that want to separate the people, the Palestinian people, to pieces that are against each other. This is the question. I'm not
All
I'm
right.
not
Okay,
accepting
that's a good question.
at all.
We are not separating Gaza. We are identifying Gaza as a special situation, a special problem, because of the 2 years of war where Israel had practically destroyed Gaza and destroyed the homes and in Gaza. So we are identifying that geographic area. We are not separating Gaza. In fact, we are including Gaza as our government. We are, just like any other federal government, is entitled to identify specific areas. In the United States, we have hurricanes, we have other issues that are specific to the area, and the federal government decides to help that particular area. And that doesn't mean that it is ignoring other areas. If a specific area has specific change of circumstances, just as it's Gaza, then we want to help Gaza because of the particular circumstances of Gaza. Now, regarding the president of Palestine saying there was no atmosphere for him to create a legitimate government, that's not true. Just like we created a legitimate government by having an election, the president of Palestine, the government of Palestine, could have done the exact same thing as we are doing. So, regardless of your excuse, you are not an elected president. I am an elected president. I was elected
blocked
by 5 million people.
Israel blocked 400,000 of our citizens that live in East Jerusalem from participating in the election. How are we to hold an election when Israel controls who's the registry, the citizens who are in our registry?
Exact same thing. We have had election online. You can do the
Joseph,
exact same thing.
the registry, are the citizenship of our people, everything is controlled not by us. So to sit here and to blame the Palestinians for this further occupation and this further separation is ridiculous. You're blaming the victims. You're blaming the victims, and you're creating an atmosphere that's going to further disintegrate the Palestinian sovereignty.
I'm sorry. We have Palestinians and Israelis voting for a parliament, and you could have done the exact same thing. In fact, we will offer you the technology that you can do it the same way. We are willing to offer you that technology. You could have, if you recognize only Palestinians in Jerusalem and Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza as part of your constituency, you can do the exact same thing that we are. But the bottom line is that you have not done so for 20 years, but for some reason you insist on being giving a veto power that could potentially undermine the people that you claim to be representing, the people of Gaza.
So you're going to delegitimize the Palestinian government, but you're going to not delegitimize the Israeli government that has also
you are
guilty.
mischaracterizing. We are
I
saying
see.
that
Yeah,
just like
that's
before, we
again,
said the
listen, have
Israeli
your
government.
confederation and let it be with Israel and just leave the Palestinian Authority out of it.
Look,
That's just
you
a
had
solution.
no problem before when we said that the Israeli government is dispensable. You had no
Dispensable.
problem
It was
before.
dispensable because Ramallah is under the sovereignty of the Palestinian Authority, but
Right.
Gaza is not under the sovereignty of Israel.
But
So
they
I
are,
don't
but
understand.
they are indispensable because
If
they
you're
have
telling me,
their,
if you're telling me
they
about
have their
building
military
a zoo
there.
in Tel
They
Aviv,
have
then
their
I could say,
military
okay,
there.
I'm not.
All right, let's go to Shlomo. Shlomo,
Yeah.
what is your question?
I don't understand the inconsistency between Gaza and the West Bank. Israel controls completely.
You don't understand the difference
Yeah,
between.
let me
I'm
explain.
sorry, then you haven't looked at history.
Let
2
me
years of
explain.
war that demolished Gaza, and you're saying they should be treated the same, Gaza and the West Bank?
Yeah, because this is supposedly the Palestinian state that is not, never will be, of course, but this is imaginary anyway. So you have Palestinian state, which is the West Bank and Gaza, and then you have Israel. Now, Israel unfortunately control everything, right? So Israel is always indispensable, no matter what you do. And in fact, the whole idea of veto power is redundant because I mean, even if you don't, whether we give it a veto or not veto, dispensable, Israel is indispensable, period. The Palestinians are always dispensable, and they are subject to a genocide right now, and all the rest. So don't tell me about veto power. Okay, it doesn't matter.
Well, are you an Israeli or Palestinian parliament member?
I'm an Israeli parliament member.
Okay. How did you vote on the legislation regarding veto power?
I said yes because I didn't want
Okay,
to
so
start arguing.
then your argument is out the window. If
Yeah,
you
so
said
I could
yes.
say, okay, assume that I said no, okay, because that's what I would
No,
do.
you already told me you said yes. You
I
voted
said
in.
yes because
We
I
have
want,
to have consistencies in our government. Let's go to
no.
Moshe.
Very, very quickly to support Shlomo's direction, and that would be to say that your example of Florida because of
No,
hurricanes.
you are Prime Minister Netanyahu. Are you going to veto this legislation?
Of what? Of giving veto power to separate government? Which one? Which one are we looking at?
On Gaza.
Ah,
Are you going to veto this legislation?
yes, I think it's wrong, not because I don't like it, but because I think it's just incorrect in that Florida does not get special legislation in the United States because of hurricanes. They get assistance.
It does get special legislation because of hurricane.
No, it gets
It gets special treatment. It gets special treatment.
Everybody
It gets
has a natural
special treatment.
disaster gets the same treatment. If California has a tremendous earthquake, they get special money to help fix the damage of the earthquake. They're not governed differently. Here's the basis. Here we're suggesting that they should be governed differently. There's a difference.
All right, so you're going to veto this legislation.
Yeah, it's not fair to the people in Gaza, and I can't support it because I want the people of Gaza to feel part of the whole thing. I don't want them to.
So
feel
you, as the
separated.
Prime Minister of Israel, veto the legislation to give $50 billion to reconstruct Gaza.
That's what you
Correct?
said. No,
Okay.
it's incorrect. I am willing to give them. I don't want them to be governed separately from the rest of the Palestinian people. They all need the same conditions, just as Texas.
How are they being governed separately from
You're separating them.
We're not separating. You are separating them.
No,
We are the government of the whole area of Israel-Palestine. Just because we are creating legislation to help the people of Gaza doesn't support your argument that we are separating between the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. So you are saying that you will never help the people in Gaza because even if you help the people of Gaza, that would be separating between the people of. So you're saying every dollar that you're going to spend on Gaza, you'll have to put the same amount of dollars for the West Bank? Is that your argument?
I leave it to the Palestinian people to decide where they're going to distribute the money that goes for Palestine. Joseph, you live in Sherman Oaks, and I grew up in Sherman Oaks. Let me finish this. If you can point out one piece of legislation that gives California special privileges because of earthquakes over Nevada, which has less earthquakes, I would be very convinced by your argument. It doesn't exist. They get help from FEMA. They get help from all sorts of immediate needs. If there's a tremendous tornado, tornadoes wipe out half of Missouri.
Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister,
yes,
why did you bomb Gaza and not bomb the West Bank in the exact same extent? If you want to treat them equally.
No, damage control. In different ways.
All right, let's go to the parliament member. Palestinian parliament members, please vote. Palestinian parliament members.
You vote. Negative.
Publish the vote. 7 out of 7 Palestinian parliament members voted yes for this legislation. Let's go to the Israeli parliament members. Please vote. Israeli parliament members, please vote on this legislation. Publish the vote. 75% of the Israeli parliament members voted on this legislation. So we have a consensus. We are the only legitimate government in Israel-Palestine. Let me emphasize this. We are the only government that was elected by the people of Israel and Palestine. And we have 41 parliament members, and we want to treat Gaza in order to bring back Gaza into reality. The majority of our parliament members, both Palestinians and Israelis, have agreed to do so. And the only difficulty we have now is the Prime Minister of Israel, who is vetoing this legislation. Correct, Mr. Prime Minister? You are vetoing this legislation.
Yes, I'm vetoing.
All right. You have an election coming up this year. I will work hard to either convince you to remove your veto, or I will work hard to have your opponent elected in order to have the veto removed. Baruch, you have a question?
It's really to the Israeli Prime Minister. You were visited yesterday by the person, Mr. Netanyahu, who actually wrote the Trump proposal. Okay, I was in contact with him. And he was in Israel. Nobody knew about it, and he met with you yesterday. And I voted in favor of this, but he said, with a message from Mr. Trump, said, sorry, Mr. President, Joseph, but we are going to control it. We are going to make sure the Palestinian Authority control it, and we're going to put a lot more than 50 billion in to rebuild it.
What is your question, Baruch?
Well, so I'm not sure that this. Well, first of all, the veto is a bit strange after the meeting you had yesterday.
What is your question?
Leave it. It doesn't matter.
Okay. All right.
I withdraw it.
Okay. All right. So let me. We are late into the hour. Let's go to. I'm not going to go into the next legislation. We're going to go to.
Let me just make it clear in 2 sentences why myself, Mr. Netanyahu, has never agreed to this direction, and that is that we would never want to negotiate with 2 separate Palestinian partners. We will decide, we will meet with one, and whoever is the one will decide for all of the Palestinian people. That's been constant.
Let's have a post-simulation survey. Okay. After participating in the simulation, do you support a common federal government for the people of Israel and Palestine? Okay, publish the vote. 73% said yes. It was 88% at the beginning. It went down, and we have 27% voted no. The people who voted no, could you please identify who you are? So it's Baruch, Moshe, and
No, not me, Eli.
Baruch, Eli, and who else?
Come on, be brave, open up.
I'm not
All right.
able to
Voted
vote.
against you.
I'm not able to vote, but I would have voted no, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, no, you could vote.
No, I'm not, because I'm a
You're the
host.
president.
So
No,
He's
no,
the
no,
this is
no,
past
but I'm a
simulation.
host. Physically, I can't vote because when I'm a host, I can't. Host can't vote.
I
Me,
see.
Dan, and you
Okay.
can't vote.
Okay. A
And I
common.
couldn't vote either. The Eli voted against, and I would have voted against also.
Okay. A common democratic confederation government can bring peace. Online elections are feasible and can be held securely. 1 week of war between Israel and Gaza cost over $3 billion. They spend billions, probably several $100 billion. The current governments are not legitimate in the entire area of Israel-Palestine. There isn't a single government. We are proposing a single federal government legitimate for the whole area of Israel-Palestine, regardless of religion, nationality, or any other difference. And we believe that the federal government could make peace. All right, let me go to open discussion. And Nasir, you are given the floor, and you're also
Sure.
given the right to manage this now.
Sure. Yeah, so I wanted to explain about what my opposition was, and I think that something that makes this like not authentic is that to my understanding, I think other than Samir, I'm not seeing any other Palestinians here. I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but the issue that I have is that there's a certain lack of authentic, organic perspective, especially from the Palestinian side. We do have a few Israelis here, but I don't think they typically represent the majority of the Israeli public. However, you know, when it comes to the issue about sensitivity is sovereignty. Sovereignty is a big issue for Palestinians because we've been handed proposals, we've been handed deals that are saying, oh, this is temporary, this is temporary. Like Oslo, for example, was supposed to be temporary. And yet from 93 to 2000, we saw, you know, settlers go from 240,000 to 520,000 or something like that. So when you go to the people of Gaza, if you speak to them and you ask them what they want, this is out of touch with them. They don't want to be they don't want to be separated from the West Bank. The people in the West Bank don't want to be separated from Gaza. In fact, this is a policy that was driven by Netanyahu and his people to slice the Palestinians. And in fact, there is, you know, it's not a conspiracy theory to say that Qatari money was funneled into Gaza. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is fact. 3 months before October 7th, there was a delivery of suitcases of cash into Gaza. And Smotrich himself, he said it. Hamas is an asset in Gaza, the PA. And to say that the PA has failed, you know, under the conditions that you know, who controls the tax money that comes into the Palestinian Authority? It's controlled by Israel. It's held by Israel. We have teachers, we have civil servants who haven't been paid, police officers who haven't been paid for 6 months because Israel is holding on to their funding. They're weakening the side that is saying we want to coexist in a state next to you, in peace next to you, and they're basically benefiting the side that's saying we want to have a total war against you. We don't want and it misses that. And Palestinians in Gaza recognize this more. In fact, the support for a two-state solution is stronger in Gaza than it is in the West Bank. Recent poll, I think, was just like a month, 2 months ago, said 74% of Gazans want a two-state solution with the West Bank, where in the West Bank, I believe it was like 54%. So it's like, and then when you come and you question whether or not the Palestinian Authority is indispensable in this over Gaza, yet at the same time you're saying Israel is because they have troops there. Well, guess what? Israel not only has troops in the West Bank, but they have 750,000 settlers in the West Bank. They have communities that are surrounded. So in effect, they are more entrenched in the West Bank than they are in Gaza. This is fact.
Nasser, do you know that
Nasir, let me respond to you.
The number of settlers are leaving? Do you know that there is a net migration from the West Bank every year now? Every month, more leave than come in. There hardly anybody comes in. More and more are leaving. Do you know that?
Nasir, let me respond to you.
They need more of them to leave.
Okay, we are to say that the federal government is separating between the West Bank and Gaza is just false. It's not true. The federal government is the government of the whole area of Israel and Palestine, including Gaza, including the West Bank, and including Israel. Okay? We are entitled to pass legislation identifying specific area. And what I feel is that you are, as the prime minister as the president of Palestine, you are more concerned about your presidency than the people themselves, and that's why you're trying to create an artificial.
It's not about our presidency. It's about sovereignty. It's about
you're trying to create an
land.
artificial equality between the West Bank and Gaza, denying the overwhelming devastation of Gaza in order to support your government, the government of the PLO, which and clinging to the idea that you have to be the government when you have not even been given the right to the Palestinian people to vote. Now, we are not here to support the Israeli government or the Palestinian government. We are not here to allow the Palestinian or the Israeli government to justify their action by claiming to support that the Prime Minister of Israel claimed that he's supporting the people in Gaza when he devastated Gaza. You as the president of Palestine, you have done nothing to protect the people in Gaza. They have not been protected by you, but you're trying to use that conflict in order to legitimize your own personal government.
So you're going to use the fact that we are weakened. We are the weakened side. We are the weaker
no,
power.
We
don't have the military. We don't have the air jets. And you're going to use that against us.
You're not using.
So
we're
here's
not
the thing.
using the
No,
fact
but the thing is,
at all.
You're going to delegitimize what the Palestinian. To sit here and to say that the Palestinian Authority has done nothing for the people of Gaza is just false. Okay? Did you know right now till this day there is professors? There is professors. I have a friend, for example, whose mother is a professor, and she's being paid till today. Even though there's no schools in session and the university was destroyed.
What did the PA do to protect the people of Gaza?
Okay, well, what does the PA do to protect the people in the West Bank against the settler terrorists who are rampaging?
Nothing.
Okay, nothing.
So by your claim,
okay, the failure comes from Israel, who insists on ethnic cleansing and genocide and dealing with the Palestinian people. And the fact that you're sitting here saying you're blaming the weak side, you might as well blame the Jews for the Holocaust at this point. You might as well do that.
No. I agree that the Israeli government
What did the Zionists do to protect the Jews during the Holocaust? What did they do?
Nothing.
Exactly. Okay, so let's blame them.
No, I'm not blaming. I am saying let's have a federal government for the people of Palestine and Israel. Why are you dragging the Holocaust? Why are you?
Because you're sitting here saying that you're sitting here.
We are the only government that has been elected.
The Palestinian people are not going to be orphans to be dealt with like orphans. Everything that the international community, including this confederation,
the Palestinian
is telling us that we're going to be orphans treated. We have the Qataris, we got the Egyptians and the Turks and everybody like we're orphans. We have a people, we have educated people. We can take sovereignty over our own country and our own lands and our own destiny. Enough is enough. We are not the orphanages.
We are not against
these organizations, and even these Qataris. They don't work in the interest of the Palestinian people. They work in the interest of regional stability, so they can continue to do business with America and Israel. This is what it's all about.
Look, if you were constructive president of Palestine, what you would say to me as the president, you would say, Mr. President, you have a good idea to conduct election online. Can I get the technology that you have so we can create our own government in Palestine? And I can tell you ahead of time, yes, Joseph, by all means, we will give you that technology.
Joseph, we can have the best government. You just want to have an argument. No, we don't want to have an argument. We can have the best government. We can have the best government, and we can be sitting on a mountain of gold. But guess what? We have a problem. It's called Israel, and it's the occupation.
I agree.
We can have a parliament tomorrow. We can have a new president tomorrow.
I'm helping you.
We can have new everything tomorrow. But guess what? It won't mean anything because Israel is holding on to these territories, and they are not going to permit it. So bring me 20 parliaments, bring me 20 new Palestinian elections, whatever. Nothing will change because the power is not in the Palestinians.
Let's go to. All right, Nasir, I have to go, but you continue
that's fine.
Because I have a.
So we'll go in order. Moshe, Shlomo, and Samir. Go ahead, Moshe.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to pretend to be Netanyahu. Please don't tell anybody outside of this group that I actually represented Netanyahu. I will denounce it. I'll say it's a total lie. I never did it. But to be consistent, we know that Netanyahu is only lying when he opens his mouth. So everything I've said has been a lie, and you should not have any expectations of anything I've said. And Nasir, I think that you and I would have gotten along very well without Joseph's intervention of trying to shut me up and then shut you up. There were points that I'm sure that you and I could have negotiated within a minute and a half to 2 minutes. We would have come out with something that both of us could live with, and we could progress. And this is also some of the problem in the world where
I agree, but you have to understand, in the simulation we have to be realistic. Like my position that I took is not necessarily my position.
But there is no real Netanyahu. He's like Trump. He'll tell you that I'm in favor of a Palestinian state. A week later, he'll say, I never said that. What are you talking about? It's the same thing as Trump. Trump will say this great thing, and then the next day he'll say, I never said that. And if you say that I said it, I will sue you for $1 billion. Go ahead, try his hand. No. So anyway, the whole thing, I think, is skewed because there are tremendous inconsistencies with the process and tremendous inconsistencies with the assumptions and other things here that we had to accept them as this is the way we're going to discuss it. And I think that was just forcefully enforced. It was enforced with no real purpose other than to remain within the way Joseph sees this thing progressing. I don't, and Eli doesn't feel that we should be progressing toward this agreement of an IC. What do we call it? The IPC.
IPC.
I don't agree with that. I've been a two-stater. I actually edited the entire Geneva Initiative Final Status Agreement. I understand the agreement from A to Z, and I support it because it was negotiated by both Palestinians and Israelis, and it needs corrections. It needs adjustments. I agree. But there's no reason that if we have two decent, good, willing leaders that we couldn't sit down and actually get this whole thing done without this mess of a... I'm sure, come on over for coffee.
Yeah, sure. Anytime. It's interesting. Just on the note on that, since you said that you were with the Geneva Initiative, that you were a part of that, what came out of it was Yossi Belin and I believe it was Hiba Hosseini. They actually did it. Yeah, no, but later they in 2021, I believe, they came out with something called the Holy Land Confederation, which was the basis of the Geneva Agreement, Geneva Accord, I believe it's called, and later into. And it's interesting because it takes a position different from the IPC here, where it starts with two-state solution. And then after the two-state solution, when you have two sovereign states, they work to a confederation. This is the approach. Yeah, this is the approach. And if you guys have seen, it's called the Holy Land Confederation. It was done, I believe, in 2021 by Hiba Husseini and Yossi Beilin. And it was sort of a continuation.
One state should be the goal of two states. And even if there
Exactly.
isn't such a goal, then we should be two states like Germany and France are two states. They fought 2 world wars against each other. There's not even a fence there, let alone a border crossing where you have to show a passport. They drive straight through. Let's do it that way. Come on, let's
Sure.
go.
And before I go to, and before I go to Shlomo, it's like, and if you don't understand the issue of sovereignty, I don't understand. You don't understand the Palestinians. You're just speaking a language that's just like, you might as well speak like, I don't know, Swahili. Shlomo, go ahead. Thank you, Moshe.
Okay, so yeah, I agree with you guys, and I see a lot of inconsistency. I mean, even as a simulation. First of all, there shouldn't be distinction between the West Bank and Gaza. And to me, the first legislation is something to build a museum. First legislation should be Israel should stop the genocide, period. Okay, of course, Israel would not agree, but yeah, so what? The whole idea of veto is redundant. What is the veto or no veto? We know that Israel will veto everything. If Israel will look at the IPC, they will veto the IPC. I mean, the obvious. And Israel doesn't believe the government of Israel never really agreed to two-state solution, and definitely not now. So, yeah. So that's number one. Number two, I lost the train of thought, but I'd like to hear more about from Eli and Moshe what they think about what would they do? How would they handle this supposedly IPC?
Okay. Look, I think in the beginning, it's very difficult to create a construction of two sides, okay, Israeli and Palestine, as two sides are not equal in nothing between them. Israel is a country established 77 years ago. She has a strong economy, even now. She has very strong army forces, even now. And in many other things, she's a Western country. Palestine are not established any. So to make an agreement between two sides are so gap in the forces, economic, army, all the time, and between these two sides have so blood and emotion, bad emotion and hate, to make him in the same construction is very difficult and it will not work. I believe it's not work. I want to make I believe the right of Palestinians for self-determination. They have their own country, but I not believe to make in the first step to do some of this. It's happened. This, like it's happened in Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was such a federation between nations that hate each other. And when it happened, when Tito died, all the time, it go on, and the blood ship. We don't want to be Balkan, to do like happened in Balkan and Yugoslavia. And the future is not be good for this sort of construction. I want to touch a few points that you don't make inside, or if you put, it's not give the important. I speak about this. Security, borders, settlement, and trust, okay? If you worried about everything, you can't build such a rich constancy between people that are not trust between them. The majority of the Israeli, or many Israeli, are not trust the Palestinian. And many Palestinians are not trust the Israeli and Jewish in Israel. This is not even Czechoslovakia. That was there was no hate between the Slovak and the Czech nation. Are not confederation. They are two separate, and they are okay. They live in peace. But we are not Czechoslovakia. And to build trust between nations, it takes time. You can't begin in the first step like you can't build a building in the fourth level in the beginning. You must to build the first level in the beginning, and then the second, the third, and so. Confederation may be the fourth level of this building, but it can't be the first one. If you insist to do it, you block all of them, and as we say in Israel, there's not another option. Maybe if this, if we can build something of two states, live each one inside, side by side. And we broke this formula, but we want the better. The better. I don't know. We have another option. So I'm afraid to support the idea is good, but in the real time now, when I say now, in the next few years or two, I don't know how much you can't build such of this. For example. Security. Look, any peace plan that comes, first of all, you must I remind you that in Israel there is a law, and I know that it's the same law in the Palestinian Authority, that every peace plan that will bring from the government must be elected or to be by
resolution.
What's called it referendum, or referendum or election to support this. The majority of the people in Israel must to be support in the peace plan. Okay, the same in the Palestinian side. So it's not only the decision of the government or even the parliament, like it was in the peace agreement between Israel and Egypt and Jordan. This was elected by the parliament at all. But now it's not. All the people in Israel must go. So we must to get the majority of the people. And the majority of the people in Israel are Jewish. And I speak as a Jewish that live inside my people. I live in my people. They don't give a majority to the plan. Not chance. I tell you, as an Israeli citizen, 80 years old, who live in there's no chance to bring such of this planned confederation as a first step to get a majority. No chance in Israel. Even will be perfect documentation. But about security. Security after the area, the action that was in the 7th October 2023, it's make trauma. It's made trauma inside the people in Israel, especially between the Jewish. But I believe other people, the Arab citizens, the same. But in the Jewish, there is a trauma that are not stopped. We are 2 years after, a trauma still exists. And the trauma create strong feeling to the right and to the left. Okay? To the right, there are many Israelis. I live in the kibbutz that only 200 voters, okay? No, but in, let's say, in the 40, 50 years, they vote for the center and the left. They are not right. In my kibbutz, maybe you can, how much people vote for Likud, I can't put fingers, 5 fingers, maybe 6, 7. Majority vote. There are many of them don't believe the Palestinians. Don't believe now. Even they are part of the center and the left party. And they want peace. They don't want. They are not Smotrich and not Ben-Gvir. They are not. They are against. but they don't. So you must understand that such of this, the problem of security and the problem of trust is so important that if you don't answer on this point, you can't move nothing to, even if it's wonderful. For example, you make a documentation, but you don't speak about the settlement. You don't speak about the border. Where will be the border between the Palestinian side of the Confederation and the Jewish Israeli side? Where will be the border? Who will be the side? What the villagers live in the east side of the border, or what villages will be in the west side of the? This simple question we can split a blood of blood to do to and you document don't touch it like it. The settlement that the Israeli support, the government in Israel, that every day is another not settlement called the outpost. Okay, the illegal outpost that drop families, agriculture, falahim, drop from the land and take control. They make a fact. What we should do with this? When the Palestinian state will create, the majority of the West Bank will belong to them. Even the C area, A and B are part of the Palestinian Authority, what, the Oslo Agreement. But what we should do with all Jewish settlement that now all over the area C.
How about they belong? They will be. How about they will be residents, citizens of the Palestinian state? They will have the choice either to stay there as Palestinian Jewish, or they can move to the
that
Israel.
has not been decided yet or not proposed by any real agreement. In the Geneva Initiative, it didn't address that possibility, and that's something that has to be addressed because the numbers now demand it. It wasn't part of that, but what Eli is also talking about is in the Geneva Initiative, it not only talks about the absolute where the borders will be, and that there will be land transfer. If let's say the town of Ariel has 5 square kilometers, it will be annexed into Israel with the approval of the Palestinians because they will get another 5 square kilometers somewhere else. That's already been decided on. It's already been decided where the water is going to come from, where the sewage will flow, what frequencies in the air will go to each side and everything. So, all of this exists already in the agreement.
Look at the map. I'm sharing. Can you guys see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes.
Is it showing? Okay,
yes.
So this is the Geneva map. Before I go to Samir, I want to ask you something. So the concept of this map was that I think it was 3 to 4% of the West Bank where 85% of the settlers live. So if you look, for example, like Modin Elite, for example, I believe it has like 60,000 Israelis now that live in this, and which, by the way, was built after Oslo, for your information. I believe it was established in 1995, I believe. So this is the concept that the land swap came in regards to that. So you see that there's green areas here that were given to Gaza, as well as here around Hebron and some other areas for some of what we call the major settlement blocks. The question I have is that this was made in 2003, and since you were part of the effort that worked on this, do you think that this would be a plausible map, or would it be maybe no longer, because we've had, now this, when this map was made, there was about 500,000 settlers. Now we're about 750,000. So would there have to be major adjustments?
The answer is that everything and anything in the existing agreement from the Geneva Initiative Agreement will have to be renegotiated, but not entirely. You start off with, okay, this first one, do you accept that? Good, we're done with that. Second, you're good with that? Good, me too. Number 3, you don't like that? Okay, we'll put that down at the bottom. We'll talk about all the things we don't agree on at the end. There will have to be major adjustments to the agreement. A lot has changed, especially in the last 2 years, but it's feasible. It's doable if we have 2 really willing leaders who will say, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, for instance, all of the settlers. What are we going to do with the settlers who live beyond these settlement blocks? Within the agreement of Geneva, today approximately 65% of the settlers will be able to live where they currently are, and only the rest will have to decide, and that will be according to a decision of the Palestinian state whether they're going to accept Jews as citizens. And Arafat has said that he would like to do that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what the next government will do. So it depends. And it also depends, for instance, on the other side. The Palestinians living in Germany will have a question. Do you want to return to your home in the state of Israel, or do you want to get compensation and stay where you are in Germany, or do you want to get compensation and be an automatic citizen of Palestine, the new state? These are questions that will come up then. And it's going to be up to the German government
So let me ask you this. One of the biggest block is that people say that the reason why these initiatives couldn't move forward is that Palestinians, and including Yasser Arafat, and later under the Omar plan proposed to Mahmoud Abbas, was that the Palestinian insistence on the right of return to the 48 territories. Now, from your experience in negotiating with these people, was this something that the Palestinians...
No, let's make it clear. I was not part of the negotiating team. I did the entire editing post-publication.
Okay, so from your perspective, did you see that this was something that the Palestinians were able, like, were they willing to accept a two-state solution where that the right of return to the state of Palestine and not necessarily to the 48 territories, was that a big stumbling block that made them, that would make them, for example, leave this kind of solution?
Like I said, I wasn't part of the negotiation, so I don't know how long they spent on that, but therefore they have the three solutions. If you want to say, I don't want reparations, I want to go back to my house in Akko, which is right over there, 3 kilometers from here. You say you want to go back to your house there and live there. It's up to the Israelis to check out who you are, if you participated in terror incidents, or if your close family participated in terror incidents. If not, they're going to say, no, you can't come in. We're not going to take that. But on the other hand, if they can't prove anything necessarily against you, then they have to determine how they're going to deal with it. You may, for instance, get compensation for the house in Akko and be able to build somewhere else in Israel. I don't know. That all of these things still have to be touched on, not necessarily renegotiated. They have to be checked as a reality check, how many people would be willing to go ahead with that. But Samir has been waiting to ask a question for a long time.
Go ahead, Samir.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Nasir. Thank you, Eli. I always, and I still support one secular democratic state. And the way to do that is to end the occupation of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and Gaza, and to end apartheid, and then call for general elections in all historic Palestine under the UN auspices, to conduct a referendum for all the population living in historic Palestine to vote on whether they want one state, two states, or the IPC model. So leave it to the people to decide which way to go. And why I'm calling for one secular democratic state, because I think this is the best solution, and it is more practical, and in a way, it doesn't require negotiations, it doesn't require transfer of any population, and it will be one land for all with equal rights, a right to vote, one man, one vote. And in a way, it is possible. Why it's possible? Because South Africa did it 30 years ago. So the Israelis and Palestinians are not less smarter than the South Africans. If the South Africans did it 30 years ago, definitely Israelis and Palestinians can do it. Plus, the Israelis have already an experiment back in 1965 when they ended the military rule in Palestine and declared one democratic state, and they gave the Palestinians equal rights, and they were able to vote, and in a way, that experiment, 1965, it can be applied anytime, even today. You just copy that and improve on it. Because, I mean, what happened in 19 is different. Now is a different situation. But definitely, it can be done. And it doesn't require negotiation and fight, and this is my land, and this is my place. And doesn't matter. I mean, there are 14 million people now living, 7 million Jews,
Correct.
Israeli Jews, and 7 million Palestinians. They have one state, it will be like 50-50. And when they elect the government, 50-50. Parliament, the same thing. And it will be the best democracy in the world. And it will be the most prosperous, probably, state in the world. And everybody in the whole world will support it, including America and Europe and everybody. The entire world will support this country, including the whole... The entire Arab world will support that. So, I mean, why don't we go for it? That's
May
the
I
right
ask you a
solution.
question?
Yes.
The answer to your question might be in the answer to my question. Do you think that the Palestinian people in the world deserve a homeland?
Oh, definitely.
Do you believe that the Jewish people in the world deserve a homeland?
Definitely.
So here is one of the problems that might arise. Because, for instance, like if having a homeland means when a Palestinian says, I want to come back, it's my homeland, I can come back. This can be problematic. The same for a Jew.
Yeah. I have a solution for that. This now we're talking about
your optimism.
Yeah. No, I respect your question and comment, and I will answer it. This kind of a problem, it comes later. This is not the time to solve it. Now we have to deal with the current population. There are 7 million Palestinians living on the land and 7 million Israeli Jews. Do that experiment, I mean, one secular state. And then once you elect a new democratic government representing both sides, this refugee issues of whether, I mean, to bring Palestinian refugees or Jewish refugees is up to the new elected government. They would decide, just like any government in the world. You decide on how many refugees, whether Jewish or Palestinians, to come in. They say, let us bring in 500,000 Palestinian refugees and 500,000 Jewish refugees. Okay, they vote on it, agreed on it. Okay, it will be implemented. But that's something that will come in the future. This is not.
Eli wants to reply. Go ahead, Eli.
All right.
Look, what you say, for example, that people in the settlement of near Gaza, the Jewish settlement, what we call Otef Gaza, those sitting in the border that suffer in the 7 October, what they suffer, butcher, they will agree to live in the same country with people from Gaza that cross the border. I think in their opinion, okay, in their opinion, that make such of this butcher that some of you don't, you see only what Israel did in the Gaza. I not agree with this. But you must understand that something happened before this of this. And I don't see the people in the south of Israel, in the whole of Israel, but especially in the south of Israel, that suffer will agree to live in the same country with the people from Gaza, Khan Yunus, and Rafah. It will not acceptable. If you bring him to vote, you fail. 100%, okay, in my opinion. So this is a wonderful vision. It's not acceptable now. Look, even in Europe, the bloc of the whole European Union, it was 50 years, 60 years. It was border. When you pass from French to Switzerland, they check. It's okay. Give the time that the French take to feel for the German that or all other country. Maybe it will happen, but don't put it in the first step now. But it is a failing. It's a fail. It don't between the Israeli population and the Jewish population. I said, as a Jewish, I don't think it's the same of the Arab citizen. I think the Jewish Israeli citizen. Peace activity. Yes, I'm for peace. It will not. So,
yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying.
Between them, they have agreement between them. They have economic relationship, even security relationship. Even to achieve this, I don't tell you what we must to do. Another option. Not. This is my opinion. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. I agree with that, and I respect your opinion. But what I think that this reality, what you just talked about, it was created by the Netanyahu government, and the Israeli people can change that. I mean, Netanyahu is not going to stay forever.
We're trying hard, believe us.
That's what it is. You try hard, change that government, and bring a new government. The new government will think differently, and things will change. I mean, this reality, it can be changed. Maybe in a year, 2 years, things will change. When you change government, the Israeli government, things will go. So I'm optimistic, and I believe that the Israeli people are able to do it. If they were able to do it in 1965, they are able to do it now. I hope so.
You must understand the occupation will stop only with a peace agreement. It's not happen that Israeli forces leave the Palestinian area without any agreement
unilaterally
that improve security and such of this. It's not happened. So we need to stop the occupation. We need peace agreement.
Yes, I agree.
That will get the majority of the Jewish of Israel, and I believe the majority of the Palestinian population. Without this, we can't move forward. Okay?
You're right. I agree 100%. I agree.
The only problem,
Shlomo?
Yeah, to continue, the only problem is the 80% of the Israelis support the invasion and the genocide in Gaza. So how can you make peace? But let me take a distance. Let me take a big distance. Forget that I'm an Israeli and Jew and all of that. And let me tell you something, just material for thought. How about the fact that the Jews are not actually people? There is Judaism, which is a religion, and the whole contention that we are people, that we are a nation, is incorrect. Number one. Number two, the Palestinians, on the other hand, are a nation, in fact, and are people. Number three, neither one, not the Jews and not the Palestinians, deserve any country of their own. Explanation. Israel has proven to the whole world what they do when they have a land, when they have a country, when they have a state of their own. They go occupy and genocide. Occupy and genocide. That's what they know how to do. All the rest is not important. Therefore, they don't deserve. The Palestinians, on the other hand, they deserve to live. I mean, all of us are just apes that came and started to talk to each other. But we all deserve to live and to live in peace. The whole self-determination and state, this is all divide and rule by the capitalism, by the capitalist on top. And all the rest is just they promote wars between us. They as I said, freedom sure.
So separate and control.
Separate and control. So we need to wake up as human beings with humanity and say, you know what, forget all of this. We just need to live in peace with one another in one whatever country that we can. I know it is sound unrealistic. There is the two-state solution, there is one-state solution, and then there is no-state solution. Think about no-state solution, and then we can talk about boundaries and all of that. Just make this exercise. Thank you.
Thanks. Did you want to respond, Moshe or Eli?
Yeah. The idea that 70% of Israelis, I'm sorry, how many percent did you say that supported the attack and genocide?
80%.
80%, 82%. It was a poll, one poll, but again, I don't know what it is now. I think that
the way you phrase it, that's not correct. Let's remember one thing. Currently, statistics say currently that 70% of Israelis do not believe our government. Before the war started, 64% of Israelis were willing to give up territory in a negotiated manner for peace. We have to remember that when a country is attacked, Israel's a sovereign country that was given borders by the United Nations, was accepted and everything. When anyone comes across that border, and it doesn't matter what the reason is,
it matters.
One second. They can be justified if they're fighting oppression in terms of occupation. That can be justified, but it can only be justified when it's only against military targets. Once it bleeds into, excuse the expression, once it bleeds into the civilian sector, and the large majority of people killed on October 7th were civilians.
By whom?
Excuse me?
By whom? By whom? Was it
killed by whom?
Yeah, they made it a fire zone, and Tzahal, the IDF killed most of them, as far as I can tell.
No,
but okay, let's assume that I'm wrong. Let's assume that I'm wrong.
Okay, it doesn't really matter. That's not the point. But excuse me, but I watched it live at 6:30 in the morning on October 7th. I watched it live. You can't tell me what I didn't. It's not a matter of editing or we brought in certain stuff. There were things we saw, and now we're discovering more things about the truth about how some of our pilots actually fired on vehicles that had people who were abducted. Yes, it happened. The majority, nowhere near the majority, but that's beside the point. What I'm trying to say is that when a country is attacked, it has the right to, first of all, defend itself. Now, does that necessarily mean you can only stand on the border and shoot anybody who's trying to come across?
It is not true. They don't have any right. The right is to resist occupation. Not only the right, but obligation.
I'm not talking about, you're talking about from the Palestinian side. Yeah. Sure. I'm not talking about from the Palestinian side. So, you're talking to two people who, if we had a button right here, let's press the button, end of the occupation. We just ended we would do it right now. Both of us. That's not the point. The thing is that when Israel was attacked from across the international border, it has the right to do reprisals. There were 600 missiles fired in one day. 600. Now, if you don't know when they're going to stop, you have to do something to make sure that stops. If 1,200 people were killed in a day and a half, you have to do something to stop that so it doesn't have another 1,200 the next day and continue on. Now, when we had that reprisal of firing at positions that were actually shooting missiles and whatever, that would be considered reprisal and considered defending your country from having missiles. The missiles aren't being fired at army bases. They're fired into Israel. Whatever it hits, it hits. Israel directs its missiles sometimes at places where there's civilians. You won't hear me saying that's not true. It does. But the problem happened when Israel went from reprisals to prevent further attacks to revenge. This was the product of the suffering of people watching their own families being murdered. People actually watched it live on Facebook. An attacker would take the telephone of the person he's captured in their homes. He'd go onto Facebook Live and he'd show whoever's watching Facebook Live, which it's usually their friends and family of the people that are about to be executed or tortured and executed. This kind of stuff just took away any of the humanity that was left in Israelis. And they said, everybody in Gaza is a terrorist. Everyone in Gaza is guilty. They're all animals. None of them are. It was horrible. And I've heard people say that. And some of the people who said that, who were soldiers in Gaza, have since committed suicide for the things that they've done. There have been over 290 suicides of Israeli soldiers who just couldn't live with the horrors that they actually did or saw next to them, their friends being murdered in front of their eyes. Not murdered, being shot in, I'm sorry, not murdered, but being shot in combat. Horrible stuff. Eli was right. We are not in post-trauma yet. We're still in trauma. We're still having friends who are being killed. And of course, in Gaza, it's still trauma. It's not post-trauma, and it's on a huge, much larger scale. There is not such a thing in Judaism called revenge. What do we say when someone dies? God should take his revenge in your name. God, not me or my brother Bill or my friend. No. Revenge is not supposed to be part of our way of life. Therefore, it's unjustified all the way down the line. And the problem was, which is the same problem that allowed the situation to actually exist, is that Netanyahu lost his fifth election in 5 elections. There was a round. He lost the 5th one. He only got 23.8% of the vote, his party. He didn't get like Trump got 58.9%. He got 23.8%. He knew that he was not going to remain in power if he didn't do something urgent, which meant he would be going to court, which meant he would probably be going to jail, prison. And so what he did was the thing that no one ever did. He brought in the most racist elements in Israeli society and said, come, fill up what I need to be able to have a majority, and we can create a government. But once he did that, he didn't realize how much he's going to have to feed them. And now he found himself in a situation where they actually removed troops from that area of the border to take care of the settlers who would go on rampages and do pogroms against Palestinians in the West Bank. And there was your opening. If there had been one tank left there at where that fence was exploded and where people came across, there would have been one tank shell, maybe 2. The first people who would be coming across the border would have been shot, either killed or injured, and that would have been the end of the story. Not that that's a nice story, but compare that to what actually happened.
Yes,
Hold on, Shlomo, real quick. Hold on, Shlomo, real quick. This is one of the biggest arguments that I make because when people tell me about the hysterical mindset that Israelis are in because of October 7th, and I try to say to them, like, I want to be Israeli for a minute and say that rather than direct my anger at Gaza or the people of Gaza and stuff, is that, there was like something on October 7th, you have 56 kilometers of a border with Gaza, 767 soldiers were protecting that border. Now, meanwhile, you have, like Moshe said, very, very clear, how many soldiers are protecting the 500 or 600 settlers that live in Hebron? I believe it was something like, I think at times they have something like 2,000-3,000 soldiers protecting them. So you have 2,000 soldiers, you have thousands of soldiers protecting a handful of Israeli settlers in the West Bank, yet you only have 760 protecting the border of an entity that's literally at war with you, outright war, saying that we are going to attack you. So
not only that, having exercises the days and weeks before how to do it. They're doing it right there on the fence.
Yeah. And not just that, but it's like, if Israel was, and it goes back to the notion that this is about Hamas, this is about the hostages, and this is about security, that we know that if Israel really wants security, draw a border and put all your nukes and tanks and jets and firepower at that border, and these Palestinians who have no army, I believe it was the father of the brother-in-law of Miko Peled, the one he lost his daughter in the Sobro bombings.
Mati Peled.
No. That is it Mati Peled? I don't think it's.
Yes.
Okay. And he said that, what are we scared of? We're scared of a mosquito. It's like to sit here and say that we're scared of this population, and we know that the security concern is there, but the problem that we're facing is we're facing a mindset that it's almost like security is used as a weapon. It's used to weaponize agendas of expansion and taking more land and seizing more land. And I think that Israelis like Moshe, like Shlomo and the others here, that your front has to be more in penetrating this mindset that's in Israeli society.
But Nasir, I have to correct one thing you said. I'm sorry.
Sure.
There's one thing. Hamas was a terror organization or militia or whatever you wanted to call it when they were elected to rule Gaza in 2006. Since then, they became an army for all intents and purposes. Today, they are no longer an army. They're disintegrated. They have no structural leadership, top down of the generals, etc. It's all gone. They were all killed.
No, definitely an army.
It was
definitely an army. Definitely an army, but not in the sense in the army of having jets and tanks and missile, missiles.
And we found out that that's not the main thing you need. What you need. Obviously, that didn't work. Nuclear bombs.
But the thing is that people in Israel can live right out of Gaza, and there is the means to protect them and secure them. But unfortunately, it wasn't utilized because the priority is, and we know for a fact that Israel was probably planning an attack in Jenin before October 7th, and the war in Gaza probably postponed that, because there was an active effort to move into Jenin into the northern parts of the West Bank because they saw it as problematic areas. So I mean, it's just a set of priority in that if Israelis are so concerned about security, it could be easily solved because they have the power, and I don't think that a Palestinian state would never pose that much of a threat with Israel's military power. The military advantage for Israel is probably going to last for another at least 50 years. I don't think the Palestinians are going to have an air force or capable of threatening this mighty army that's been
I'll remind you of the 39 weeks that preceded the 7th of October. Back in January 2023, the new government came in and they took their party platform of the Likud, 4 main points, and they just said, we'll throw them away. We have the extremists that we have to feed. So they turned it into an entire judicial, they called it reform. It was an overhaul. And what they wanted to do was take away any of the ability to overthrow the government or to take Netanyahu out of power and everything. 39 straight weeks, Israelis demonstrated in the streets with 200,000 people a week, the American equivalent of 6,800,000 people every week for 39 weeks. The only reason that did not continue was because of the attack from Gaza. So it's not like we haven't been trying. It's not like we don't have a majority of the people who believe that this government has to be changed. It does. But when you have the majority in the Knesset that they have, you can't just overthrow them unless you want to do something which is absolutely unacceptable, which is a violent overthrow of the government. This is not Ceausescu. We're not going to take him and his wife out into the backyard and shoot them. We have to do this democratically. And it's extremely painful for us. We wouldn't have been out there for 39 straight weeks, and we see what it did to the Palestinian people. We need the progressive people of the world to stand behind the progressives in Israel to overthrow this government and to start putting Israel back on track to be right unto the nations.
And I will add this real quick, is that the ground is fertile right now, especially in the region. We have Gulf countries with amazing financial resources that are ready to support stability. We have a Syrian government right now that has gotten rid of the Iranian threat, which many people in the Levant see as a threat, including like Jordan, including the Palestinians themselves, including Syria, and it's the ground is fertile for this type of cooperation. But there's just one person who is not able to get on board, and unfortunately, the United States is supporting that one person, because you think about it, is that the incentive will be thrown on the Palestinians to establish a moderate state, a state that's not going to be threatening to its neighbor, because we have like this, the Saudis are behind this. The Saudis have amazing resources, and they've showed commitment to support this effort because they want quiet. They want to do business. These Emiratis and Qataris and Saudis, they want quiet so that they can do their $1 trillion investments in the United States in AI and all this other technology stuff. They want to make money.
You have the same regime in Israel and in the United States. One is from the Likud party in Israel, and one is the Republican party in the United States. It's the same way of thinking, or lack of thinking. I call them the Likudians. They're both Likud and Republicans together.
Abu Mazen declared many times, I heard myself and many others, that the Palestinian state don't need an army. He don't want that only a police force, and they don't want to make a airplane or tanks or something like this. He declared it very, very clearly. I and Moshe and a group of activists, peace activists, were building now a station communication, to say, that that called the voice of peace. We will be called the voice of peace, that bring the voices of peace from the Palestinian side and from the Israel side to the Israeli public
An
and the
internet radio
Palestinian
station.
public.
Yes.
It's take a lot of effort to do this, but we want to bring these
And,
voices
and,
for the
and here,
public.
and here's the thing, Eli, is that most people say like, oh, they want a disarmed, non-military Palestinian state. And here's the thing, I'm saying it from a person from a Palestinian perspective, is that why do I want to throw my limited resources to build an army that can be destroyed in 2 weeks? Like it makes sense, almost like and I argue like the pro-Iranian people who say that Iran was supporting Palestine. I said, okay, how many hospitals did they build? How many schools did they build? How many infrastructures? Nothing. They supplied weapons, they supplied this that were literally taken out in a matter of weeks. And and when you look at, for example, do Palestinians need an army right now? We need institutions that develop ourselves, that develop our nation, and build
Civil
education
society.
and
A
healthcare and
normal
civil
civil
society.
Yeah.
And
Let me
so
tell you
this
something about
and unfortunately, when Abu Mazen takes this position, he's seen as, oh, he's a collaborator, he's a Zionist, he's a this, he's a that, and he's taking and I don't want to sit here and praise Abu Mazen too much, because I can definitely criticize him a lot, but the point is that
Agreed.
these are the people who are looking at the long-term interest, the practical things. When you talk to Palestinians, when I talk to my families and stuff, this is what they want. They care about healthcare, education, access to jobs, and moving around, freedom of movement.
Yeah.
And now 69% of Palestinians in the West Bank, their biggest fear is settler violence.
Of course.
This is the
Ours
stuff
too.
that matters.
It's a problem for Israel too. Don't think that we're not worried about it. We're worried about it too. Let me just tell you something quickly about
I have something to say that
my turn, by the way.
I just have one quick thing that
Okay.
I think that if other than Netanyahu's government during October 7, the problem would have been dealt differently. And I believe that when in the year 2000, the Israeli army was occupying southern Lebanon, and because of the force confronting the Israeli army in southern Lebanon was Hezbollah, like at the beginning of its force. Uhud Barak was the prime minister at the time. He withdrew from southern Lebanon, and it was quiet for a long time, for 7 years, until 2007. But in any way, if October 7 was dealt the same way with southern Lebanon, then it would be fine. I mean, the problem with why October 7 happened, it happened after 17 years of siege on Gaza. Gaza was turned into a unlivable place. It was, people were like living in concentration camp. It is like Warsaw, a concentration camp. And anyway, I see October 7 just like Warsaw uprising. This is the Gaza uprising. And in a way, if you wanna, if there are the right Israeli leaders at the time, they should have dealt immediately with it the right way. Okay, end the siege of Gaza, and that's it.
But the thing
Leave
is,
them alone.
Samir, you have to understand something. The difference is that we know for a fact that what stops violence against Israelis is when the Palestinian Authority and the Israelis cooperate together. Okay, even if you go to the Israeli security services, Shin Bet, Shabbat, whatever that's called, they even admit it, that without the Palestinian Authority, there would be a lot more violence coming, because the Palestinian Authority cracks down on militants. This is a fact.
And there was no such thing in Lebanon. You're right.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. Now, if, for example, let me give you a perfect example, something that can be done immediately right now. If we treated settler violence the same way we treat Palestinian violence. This would immediately, because to
Yeah.
me, when I see my friends in Deir Dubuan and Tul Karam living at night under siege and houses being burnt, cars being destroyed, and children being arrested, and etc. And I say to them, okay, now why don't they fight back? They don't fight back because they know if one of those settlers gets hit by a bullet or a rock, all hell's going to break out loose. So we don't have equal implementation of the law. Now, if you came to me and said, I'm going to arrest Dahoud here because Dahoud committed an act of violence, I'll say, okay, he committed an act of violence, he should be arrested, he should be dealt with. But meanwhile, Omer, or an Israeli guy, commits an act of violence, maybe he'll go to jail for a few hours, but then he's having dinner with his family later that evening.
This is what those of us on the left in Israel are fighting. They're trying to pass a law to make it legal for executions in Israel. And we say, executions of who? Executions of terrorists.
Yes, absolutely.
Executions of all terrorists or only of error? So we have to fight this guy.
And this is something that can get the Palestinians, because right now the Palestinians are disgruntled because they see one-sided justice. But if you apply a justice system that treats Israeli Jews, particularly the settlers, the same way you treat the Palestinians who take the laws. Why should you?
That would be legal. And the entire occupation is illegal. So why should you even go down that road? We should end that story of that chapter of our lives. Let me tell you something about Eli and myself. Let me tell you something about Eli and myself regarding what Eli talked about before, about how Abu Mazen said that he doesn't really want an army. 11 hours after the agreement was made, Eli and I were on a busload of people to Ramallah, and we sat with Abu Mazen that day, 11 hours after the agreement. And that's exactly what he told us. He said, I don't want a Palestinian army that's well armed because we don't want to fight anyone. Do you think any Israelis heard that? Not a word of it. Not a word of our visit got out to the Israeli public. Not a word within Israel. We had a peace conference in the middle of the war where we filled the Madison Square Garden of Israel with 6,000 people. You didn't hear a word about it on Israeli news anywhere.
Yeah.
And another peace conference in May 10th of 2025, May 2025, we had another peace conference in Jerusalem, in the Jerusalem International Conference Center, with 8,000 people. That was almost 3 times the size of the crowd that was in the same place, demanding that we go back and occupy and repopulate Gaza. The right wing had 3,700 people there. It was on immediate direct news from that place. It was in the evening news, the late night news, the morning news, and for 3 days they talked about it. The fact that we want to make peace didn't make it into the news, not even for a second.
Yeah.
So there's real problems that we have to deal with. It's not just the opinions of people, but how opinions are created. Israeli television is just now like American television. The only way you get on with any kind of report is if it will bring rating. Rating sells cola. Rating
sensationalism. It's called
propaganda.
sensationalism.
Let's call it propaganda, which is what the news has become.
Yeah,
corporate media. Yeah.
My feeling about you guys, I'm so happy to talk to you, and I'm so happy that you exist. But I have a feeling that you guys are the fig leaf on something that is way more tricky. Israel, from all the history that I know, never was interested in peace. Number one, never was interested in giving anything to the Palestinians. They are just pretended all along. And in fact, they would rather not have Palestinians. It's the land without people for people without land. That's what they want. And unfortunately, because of the media and because of the majority of Israel is just our sheep, really following the leaders. And so a few people like you, I wish you were the majority, but you never. If you take Netanyahu, yeah, I know. If you take Netanyahu out, whom you have? You have Gantz and
let me. But that's a good point. That's a good point, Shlomo. But let me ask something. I want to ask someone like Eli, who's been around a little bit more than some of us. and I respect you, by the way, I say that we respect our elders. So, but I want to ask you a question. When Egypt and Israel made agreement on the Sinai, my understanding it was very unpopular among Israelis. Okay, I'm way too young to remember this, but here's the thing: is that we know that the leaderships and stuff and the general population are against it, but can we say that the Sinai agreement was an example of how something, because it was unpopular in Egypt and from what I understand, very unpopular in Israel, but 50 years later, do you think anybody in Israel right now would say that was a mistake, giving the Sinai to Egypt? And even Egyptians who really passionately hate Israel, I don't even think they would disagree, saying that we got our Sinai back. It's better than, you know.
You're talking logic. Be careful.
Yeah. So I mean, is it true, Eli? Was it very unpopular among Israelis in 79?
One president said, we need a brave leadership. President said that the Israeli, I don't believe when I say it, stand in the Egyptian parliament and said to the world, I want to come to Israel, to the Knesset, to Zionist parliament, to tell the people in Israel, you know, when I look in the video and in the vision and the television, I don't believe what I mean. He want to Egypt was the enemy number one many years.
Largest army in the Middle East.
I was a soldier in the Israeli army many years, and I fought against Egypt in the southern area, in the Suez Canal, and when to look like this, and nobody believed, and many don't believe. And when he come and the door open of the airplane, you know, there is a leadership from the Avodah. The Labour Party, it wasn't in the rule at the same time, it was begging Prime Minister, but he said they have an ambush when the door open of the plane will come Commando Egypt and they kill all the people are waiting there, including the Prime Minister and all that, they're waiting to get. And when people in Israel saw the first one enemy come to the parliament and said, I want peace. No, of course, we need a Sinai desert till the last meter, till the border. You know, I born in Haifa city, and President Sadat visited Haifa. My parents were there. I don't live in the center in that time, but I live. Many citizens standing on the street, and they blessed the Egyptian leader. I said, you know, I said to someone, if President Sadat will run to be mayor of Haifa, he will get 99%.
The mayor of Haifa.
Today. And it was happened 3 years or 4 years after Yom Kippur War. That was 2,000 Israeli soldiers, and many of the soldiers came from Haifa. I believe that many of the people in Haifa are standing on the road and bless they have a son, brother, or someone who fell in the war. So the people in the basic, people in Israel want peace, but they don't believe. They have no trust. We build the trust. Sadat built trust. The thing that he did to come to Israel, to stand in the parliament, in the Knesset, and to speak directly to the people, you know, I think the majority of the people when he make a speech in the Knesset, all people in the Knesset, there are no a car in the street, nothing. All people in Israel sit in television and said in the same side, the number one enemy sitting, standing on the Israeli parliament in the Knesset. He said, I want peace. It broke the untrust.
Mistrust.
The mistrust, and we need something like this.
Wait a second. This is not the same situation here. Here Israel doesn't want any peace. Let me tell you, okay, you want a leader? You have Marwan Barghouti sitting in jail for almost 40 years, being tortured as we speak. Why don't they let him out? Because the last thing they want is somebody like him. Every time there was a Palestinian leader who was interested in peace, and that, by the way, believe it or not, that includes the Hamas. It's not what you know, because you know only partial information and a lot of misinformation. But Hamas tried several times to talk to the Israelis and have some agreement. And they, if you look at their covenant of the 2017, they basically agreed to the two-state solution. But again, you always had leaders, Palestinian leaders, and every time there was a Palestinian leader who talked about peace, that's it, he's dead. And look at Arafat even. So be careful here. This is not Sadat.
There's also been Palestinian leaders who worked. For example, if you look at Prime Minister, oh my God, why can't I remember his name? Salam Fayyad. I mean, you can't. The guy is like a cupcake. I mean, a cupcake with frosting handed to Israel. I mean, you cannot get more moderate than Salam Fayyad. Salam Fayyad is, I mean, you know, he's like a gift, a Hanukkah present, all wrapped up and just ready to hand over to you. And he left because he said, I was frustrated. No matter what I did, everything we did, in the end, it didn't do anything.
It's the old joke. Netanyahu will not take yes for an answer. Yeah.
We're running way over time. I don't want to hold everybody's guess, but I personally do have to run myself. This has been thank you, Moshe and Eli, for your participation today. I hope we will stay in touch. Thank you again for the participants, and I think Dan is only. If you guys want to continue, feel free, but I have to log off. But
yeah,
everybody,
that's all right.
If everybody otherwise,
thank you, everybody.
See you next simulation. The next simulation.
I think that if President Jimmy Carter was re-elected in 1980, we would have peace in Palestine.
Correct. I agree. Shukran.
Thank you. Thanks again. Nice to meet you guys. Bye-bye. We'll be in touch, Moshe.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
شكرا سمير. مع السلامة. يلا باي.
مع السلامة. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shlomo. I'll be in touch as well with you as well. Well, I was traveling, so I didn't respond to your messages because I was traveling, so that's why I wasn't replying.
We need to talk to our friend Joseph. Yeah, we need to put him straighten him.
I know. It's hopefully we'll work on it. Thank you.
Sure. Otherwise, bye.